When Bungie announced and showed off gameplay for their new game Marathon, it wasn't the gameplay, it wasn't the world building that got people talking, it was the style. There was no gritty realism, there was no power armor, there was no Master Chief, of course. There was a lot of flat colors, neo-brutalism, and a wave of confused fans asking, what am I even looking at? Art direction, especially with color, can make or break a game's identity. It sets the mood, it shapes how we feel about the world, and sometimes becomes a legacy of the game itself. Think about Hi-Fi Rush, Persona 5 Royal, or Hollow Knight. What made these games instantly iconic wasn't just the gameplay, it was their bold, deliberate use of color and design. The style meant something, and it elevated everything. But when the style feels off, when it just doesn't match the tone or the gameplay, that disconnect can turn people off completely. Just look at the criticism aimed at Concord, Dragon Age the Veligard, or way back even The Order, 1886. So today, let's break down the art direction and the style of Bungie's new Marathon, and why it's potentially splitting and dividing the internet. And let's look at why this just might be one of the boldest art direction choices in AAA gaming. I just wanted to preface this video by stating that Marathon's art direction has evolved over time, and it has gone through a number of iterations. We can even see this from that very first reveal trailer. It originally started off quite a bit more realistic, and then it is of course now transformed into that bold, stylistic aesthetic that's becoming one of its most talked about features. Bungie's not playing it safe here, and of course they are positioning Marathon as a game that not only looks unique, but it is making a strong creative statement. And I'm not entirely blind here. I know there's a lot of other factors at play. This is multiplayer only. It's not free to play. There is no story mode, and it has some really weird androgynous character designs. But this is an art channel, and we're going to focus on the artistic side of this game's direction here. So with that said, let's get into it. As artists, I do know there's a lot of us that want to become art directors, but the reality is a lot of younger creators don't exactly know what that actually entails. We could spend an entire video like this one here breaking down the art direction of a game like Marathon. But what do the people in charge actually do to set the tone and vision of a game like this all the way to execution on the idea? As someone with some art direction experience myself, I think this is an absolute important topic, especially moving into the future for artists and creators to understand. And that's why I'm excited to announce the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. An artist and creative, Martina Fontana, created a class on Skillshare called What is Art Direction? And it actually walks you through the basic process of what art direction actually is. So if you're looking to sharpen your own creative skills for your own creative projects, or just to get more familiar with this whole creative art pipeline process, this is a great class to check out. But Skillshare offers so much more. It is the largest online learning community with a vast array of classes taught by real artists and industry experts. So whether you're a beginner or a professional just looking to level up another area of your skills, Skillshare provides a variety of learning paths on whatever creative discipline you want to try out. And one of my favorite aspects, of course, is that all the classes on Skillshare are project-based. So that means by the end of What is Art Direction, you're going to have a project and potentially even some portfolio pieces to back that up. Beyond art direction though, there is a ton of creative classes from a variety of disciplines: illustration, anatomy, social media. And you can check all this out today, of course, for free. Skillshare has a special offer right now where the first 500 people to use my link get a 1-month free trial. So in 30 days, you can make some serious progress with zero risk. So check out Martina's class and many other incredible courses available on Skillshare. You just gotta check the link below in the description. Thank you again for Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Marathon is actually a reboot of Bungie's 1994 cult classic. This is a sci-fi shooter that came before Halo. The original was cerebral, layered with themes like AI, identity, and consciousness, all delivered through terminal logs and lo-fi visuals. Fast forward to now, and the reboot is a PvP extraction shooter that takes place on this lost colony. You play as a runner. This is a mix of a mercenary and a hacker, chasing digital immortality. But, let's be real, that's not what got people talking. What really caught attention was the look. Now, the visual DNA goes way back for the series. The legendary concept artist Craig Mullins actually played a large role in crafting the original look and feel. Craig Mullins' chapter screens for Marathon 2 and Infinity were moody, they were painterly, they were full of texture. They were like dreamlike snapshots of a much larger world. He worked loosely, often skipping sketches and painting from pure instinct. That gave his art a raw, expressive feel, something that influenced not just Marathon, but later Bungie titles like Halo. Alright, so let's actually talk some art style now. Just like Persona 5 screams rebellion with red and black, or Hollow Knight evokes melancholy with blues and whites, Marathon uses style to speak. Bungie is calling this approach graphic realism. It's a mix of bold, simplified forms with grounded, believable proportions. So instead of overloading textures, Marathon leans into clean shapes and functional design. Buildings, weapons, and armor all look like they could exist, though they're filtered through a very stylized lens. Materials like metal and glass are present, but minimal. Every color, every silhouette is intentional. It makes the game feel fast, clear, and readable, which these are all important attributes in an extraction shooter. Joseph Cross, the game's art director here, and he's one of those rare artists that wears a lot of creative hats, and he wears them pretty well in my opinion. He started at Bungie in 2011, and he contributed heavily to Destiny 1 and 2's visual identity, and you can see this in his work. There's lots of logos, there's lots of emblems, and there's a lot of environment design. It all has his signature sort of look. He moves effortlessly between environment concept art, graphic design, branding, and visual storytelling. What really sets him apart is his knack for iconography and logo design, paired with a deep understanding of world building. That combination allows him to craft visual languages that feel cohesive and memorable, especially in big, complex projects like Bungie usually undertakes. And he's also got a unique ability to bridge the gap between traditional concept art and more UI-driven design, and this gives his work a distinctive sort of feel that works well as a sci-fi world as it does a sleek in-game interface. And he has worked on major projects like Destiny, Doom, Dead Space, Ghost in the Shell, Kong Skull Island, and The Foundation. Their inspirations come from all over, and this is evident too. Anything from motorsports, fashion, product design, and even cinematography. And you can see parallels and traces in popular games like Mirror's Edge, the movie Ghost in the Shell, Atomo. And he even mentioned in a Twitter thread that the Spider-Verse style gave them the confidence to go in this bold direction. The result, this game looks modular, symbolic and ultra sleek. The characters look like avatars. They're not, for better or worse, some gritty soldiers. The environments feel like these stylized sports arenas more than these lived-in worlds. It's bold, it is different, and yeah, it's definitely not what fans were expecting from the studio behind Destiny and Halo. When it came to Marathon, Joseph Cross didn't want to follow the crowd or chase the latest industry trends. He wanted the art direction to come from a more personal place. For him, it was about trusting his creative instincts and building something that felt genuine, bold, and artistically honest. He's a big believer in taking risks and leaning into individuality, even if it means stepping outside the comfort zone of what's popular. And what's great is that Bungie, a larger kind of studio, actually backed this vision. They weren't trying to make something that looked overly next-gen. They wanted to craft something, in their opinion, that felt more timeless, more distinctive. The kind of visual identity that could stand out or on its own in years to come. Whether or not that is going to pay off or not, we'll have to see. So why is Bungie's new Marathon stirring up so much controversy with this style? Well, like Metal Gear 2, Bungie's Marathon embraces a bold, high-concept, artistic vision that challenges convention. And while it makes it very fascinating on a thematic level, It also risks alienating a wider audience that may not connect with its abstract presentation or deeper narrative layers. Personally, I've always kind of understood and played Metal Gear 2, but I just didn't enjoy And I think Marathon is going to have this same sort of reaction with the audience. It's going to either be you like it or you don't. There's be very little room for in between. This is a huge pivot for Bungie. People expected Destiny level visuals, cinematic, detailed, hyper polished sci fi. Instead, we got something that looks more like a slick indie project or a motion design experiment. Second, there's this whole perception gap. The minimalist look makes players wonder, is this unfinished or did they run out of budget? Even though the design is super intentional, not everybody is going to pick up on that. And finally, there's this generational taste gap. Younger players and designers see it as fresh and innovative. Well, maybe like these older fans, these longtime players of Bungie games, may say it feels more sterile, lifeless, or lacking soul. But here's what a lot of people may miss. It's not just about style. It's part of the narrative. Marathon takes place in a world where humanity is long gone. You play as these resurrected clones, an identityless runner, right, that's been brought to back so many times. They've lost all sense of self. So just think cyberpunk, but way, way, way in the future beyond that even. And this, of course, leads to these androgynous designs with the characters, the disconnected vibe, the ultra sleek looking avatars. It's not about relatability here. It's about detachment. These aren't people anymore. They're ghosts in the machine. And, maybe the debate is just going to boil down to this. Is Marathon redefining what AAA can look like, or is it hiding behind aesthetic hype? Marathon is about identity, simulation, and blurring the lines between human and machine. And I do feel their visual direction does reflect that. The flat color planes, the modular design, the interfaces that bleed into the environment. The whole world feels synthetic, like it was built by a corporation, not grown organically. And the art style just isn't aesthetic, it's narrative world building, which is something that I love, that I talk about on this channel all the time. And it's got a lot of the vibes and the inspiration. This was all taken, from a Twitter thread from the art director. It's being influenced from motorsports for its form and their energy, or maybe it's fashion and branding for the sleekness and the symbols. Maybe then it's drawing from film and music culture for the tone and the atmosphere. This sort of fusion gives Marathon a unique identity, and it feels fast, functional, and symbolic. It's just a bit alien. So here's what's kind of clear to me. Marathon is super bold, and it is not afraid to be misunderstood. Of course, I don't think that makes for a very good business decision, given that it is a AAA game and it needs to make some money. But it is also a bit refreshing to see. In a world full of safe, predictable shooters, that alone does make it worth paying attention to. That's why I'm making this video here today. Whether it sticks to landing or not, Bungie is making a statement. Style is substance when it does serve a vision. But will players buy it? That is the real question. Especially in today's market, where free-to-play shooters are dominating and Bungie's goodwill with Destiny 2 fans is already strained. Personally, I do like the overall direction. I think the visual language is bold and evolved, and it feels like an even more focused version of what Marathon always wanted to be. Of course, I haven't played this new one, and I actually don't intend to do so. So I don't know if all these colors and these logos and these designs on screen will just kind of give a player a headache after playing for 30 minutes. I think that could also be the case. I am a bit concerned with the character designs. I think they are cool. I understand the intent behind them, but there's also, by design, no relatability to them. Maybe they're not the coolest looking type of character to play as in a shooter. They fit the world, but I don't know if they're going to fit the player. Still, whether this becomes a genre-defining classic or just another beautiful ghost in the machine. Either way, this is a massive risk, and we're going to all see if this pays off or not. I'm guessing no, like I said, but I would be happy to see if this worked out well for them. But I want to know what you guys think below. Is Marathon defining the future of what AAA shooters are going to look like? Or is this all style and no substance? Let me know below. And thanks again for Skillshare for sponsoring the video. Learn up on art directions or many other creative disciplines by following my link below. Take care, guys. I'll catch you next time.